Welcome back to another episode of Brownies for Breakfast, dedicated to igniting the flames of empowerment in your life. Hosted by me, April Federico, who, like you, has overcome challenges and achieved remarkable success. This podcast is your go-to source for uplifting stories, valuable insights, and actionable strategies that will fuel your journey towards personal and professional empowerment. So today we have Sandhya Gokal, who is a pharmacist and a healthy eating coach who is dedicated to making healthy eating so fun it becomes a superpower. And she has 12 years of experience working with patients in the area of nutrition. So I'm curious, how did you end up becoming a healthy eating coach amidst being a pharmacist?
So I started off as a pharmacist like 12 years ago, but somewhere along the way, I realized that pharmacy is very one-sided in that, yes, we are really focused on patient care and really focused on being holistic, but we really didn't look at the mental side of eating. And especially when we did like consultations for, diet and lifestyle and things like that, there was never anything about what the subconscious was looking at and what, the underlying issue was. And so I just decided that to become a little bit more holistic within pharmacy and to help people outside of that as well, I wanted to become a coach just to, I guess, be able to provide a really, really holistic view of healthy eating and especially like health in general.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's also interesting that you mentioned that pharmacy is really just a one-sided approach. And as a former pharmaceutical tech, I can totally relate to that. And I mean, can I ask where you're from?
Yes, I'm from Australia.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so obviously the approach is super different from here in the US. So, yeah, I understand that. And
Yeah, I
continue.
yeah, so I in the US the pharmacy is more just medication sides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember being in the US and noticing that actually. Here it's a little bit more like we do a lot of counseling and we do a lot of patient interaction and patient, I guess, consultations and things like that.
Hmm.
So we supplement a lot of what the doctors do in terms of the treatment side, not really diagnostic, but like
Hmm.
making sure patients understand how to take their medication and stuff. But it is a lot different than what it could be with an added coaching element.
Yeah, definitely. And what was the pivotal moment or um the moment that you had where you realized that something needed to change?
That's a really good question. I think it was through my own journey, first of all, that I
Mhm.
realized that it wasn't enough just to be on a program that helped with healthy eating,
Yeah.
because there was a lot of, not flaws, but there were a lot of shortcomings in the programs in that they were a little bit cut and dry. And when it comes to healthy eating, I'm really passionate about making it really tailored because every person's healthy eating journey is so different. And it's very hard to recognize and actually pinpoint those issues in a setting like pharmacy because you don't have the time. We don't have the time to sit and actually, discuss what were your childhood issues like? What were, what some of the eating habits that you might have picked up without realizing, and how is that impacting your healthy eating journey? And so
Mhm.
for me personally, when I started trying to become more healthy, it took me about 5 or 6 years to realize that it wasn't just about being healthy and eating the right foods. It was also about changing my mindset and changing how I looked at food and how I approached what I was eating to make it the best possible like version of myself in my healthy eating journey. So I think that was a really big pivotal moment where I realized, hey, if I can address some of the subconscious level issues, then my healthy eating journey is just going to become so much more smooth and so much more fun. Like it wasn't a hassle anymore. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was definitely the pivotal moment.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm curious, when you first reached out to me, you said that you had a similar experience as me, but you quoted not as dire. And and could you tell the audience about that?
Yeah, yeah. So I really resonated with your story about being diagnosed with diabetes and it causing such a massive change in your life.
Yeah.
But when I say not as dire, I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and because I was already in the health profession, like health industry, I kind of knew that that was a sign that I needed to act and do something really drastic. So I took that as my this is my life-changing moment, even though it seems quite small. So pre-diabetes is basically the precursor to diabetes, where you just have insulin resistance and you don't have as bad symptoms and I guess consequences of having full-blown diabetes. But it does still require you to make lifestyle diet and lifestyle changes. And so I took that on board and I was like, okay, I don't want to get into the diabetes stage. I want to tackle it now and I want to make it so that I don't ever have this issue again. And so that's where I kind of made all the changes at that point. For me, like as a healthcare professional, it kind of was it kind of was a little devastating because I was like, I'm in this industry, like I should know better. And so that for me was like, I can't be diabetic and be telling people like, oh, this is how you beat diabetes. And so for that, that was for me like I need to do something at that point.
Well, I love that story, and I really appreciate you having the courage to, come on here and talk about it. Because a lot of people really are afraid to talk about their health journey in fears that people will judge. And I'm curious, like you said that since you were already in the health industry, you said to yourself that you should know better. And well, one, it's kind of a two-part question, but one, how did you know you had prediabetes? And two, um, did you have any fear of judgment whatsoever?
Okay, so let's answer part one first. So I actually went into the doctor for symptoms of breathlessness and palpitations.
Mhm.
And at first they were like, oh, there's something wrong with your heart, but there was nothing wrong with my heart. And so they did just a general blood test and it came back with pre-diabetes. And at the time, my diet it wasn't terrible, but it could have been better. I was eating like an eclair a day and I had a real sweet tooth and that I really couldn't control. And I was one of those people where if you put me in front of sweets, I will eat the whole thing. I had no self-control. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And so that was how I got diagnosed with it. And my levels weren't hugely like bad or anything like that, but it was the fact that I was getting those symptoms. And that's quite scary. Like, even if you don't have prediabetes, if you just experience those symptoms randomly, it is scary, like that. Um, it was very alarming to say the least. And the second part of the question, so can you remind me what well yeah sorry the judgment. So um I didn't fear being judged by my colleagues or anything, but I did fear being judged by my patients a little bit because I really believe in if you're going to do something, you have to practice what you preach. So if I'm diabetic, then, and I'm not doing everything I can to prevent myself from it progressing, then I felt a little bit hypocritical. And so that was where I felt like I could never go to a patient and say, oh, I've been in the same situation as you. And this is how I defeated it if I hadn't done that. And so for me, that was my fear of judgment. I didn't want to be preaching what I did not practice, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you and I have that in common. So, and I'm curious, what is cracking the consistency code all about?
Yeah, that's my Facebook group. So it's actually a bit of an accountability group. When I started out health coaching, I was doing general health coaching, and so I decided that was the thing that people really struggle with health habits.
Hmm.
It is consistency. I spoke to someone who was saying I can do 7 days, and that's it. Like 7 days is my maximum. And so I decided to start a group where you could get free accountability. I basically post in it every day just to keep reminding people about what it is to be a healthy eater, what it is to be healthy, and also having little challenges in there and just little fun questions. Like it's not a serious group or anything, but it's just something to keep people on track and I guess remind people that consistency is really important. Consistency is pretty much the guarantor for whether your health habits succeed or fail. So that's it's just a fun group to have a few buddies and be able to track up your progress.
That does sound really fun, not gonna lie. And so you have 12 years of experience working with patients in nutrition. What would you say is the biggest takeaway from that over a decade long experience?
Well, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit here, but definitely consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency is the biggest indicator of success. If someone's consistent in their journey, they'll see changes. There's no way they won't.
Hmm.
The other thing is I've noticed it has to be something that you can sustain and it has to be something that is fun.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that when you connect, if I can find that link between what someone really enjoys and what someone finds nutritious and finds healthy,
Hmm.
then that is the ideal situation. They are on like the highway to freedom there
Yeah.
because if you find healthy eating fun, it's just really impossible not to do it. And I can attest to that because, like I said, I used to be someone who would love my sweets and I could not resist unhealthy food. Even though I still enjoyed all the healthy things, it was the unhealthy things that put me on the bad track. And so for me, changing that mindset to what do I actually enjoy in the healthy section? So, for example, I really love fruits. And so instead of saying, oh, I can only have two fruits a day, which is actually the national guidelines here. I'm not sure about in the US, but I think it is around the same. I didn't put restrictions on that, but then I would use fruit as a substitute for the things that I didn't want to include in my diet.
Hmm.
And so I think finding ways to do that and just making it so that I really enjoyed what I was eating. And I do the same for my clients. I look at what they actually enjoy and then I make them eat so much of that that it's like, why would I eat something I don't enjoy when I have a healthy alternative? For example, fruits, or even just like if they enjoy a particular vegetable or if they enjoy a particular, I don't know, grain or something like that, that's something we would incorporate because at least that way they're getting the good stuff. And actually, it's more important to add all the good stuff in than take away the bad stuff. So I know I'm saying good and bad, and food technically isn't objectionably good or bad, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good takeaway. And yeah, it seems like both you and I learned a lot when it comes to our own nutrition journeys. And I'm just gonna put this right out there for all my listeners. Like us nutritionists and health coaches, we're not perfect. So, I mean, we preach consistency, and the fact of the matter is consistency can look like um a line graph. And I mean, it could be up one day and then it could dip another day. However, if you keep doing those habits that you say you're going to do, again, practice what you preach. And I mean, you're just going to see like amazing, sustainable results.
I
Yeah. And
totally agree, April.
exactly. And something that I actually posted on Instagram today at Legally Confident is while it's all well and good that we're having like these New Year's resolutions like oh I'm gonna eat healthier or like oh I'm going to blah, 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 do this and that. Like part of effective planning is goal setting. And in order for them, these goals to be valid, they have to be realistic and measurable. And it's not realistic to think that like everything is going to happen all at once. Like you're not going to lose weight overnight. And you're not going to just beat diabetes overnight. In fact, today as we record this, this is the 1 year anniversary in which I beat diabetes.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. And yeah, it's been a wild year to say the least. Just it's like I knew something had to change. Like immediately something in my brain was like, okay, I can't live with this. So, and this is when I was on like my near deathbed, for those of you who know the story. And immediately a switch just flipped in my brain and I was like, okay, with the confidence and emotional intelligence that I have, you know, we can beat this. We can do whatever it is we set our minds to. And Sandhya, I think that you embody just that.
Oh, thank you. I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah, I 100% agree. That is what it is. I think being consistent and actually just implementing any health habit, it really builds confidence. It really just makes you feel, oh my gosh, I can do this. I've got
Yeah.
this. And I think that's really important because health is such a big space and it does affect so many other areas of your life. I will just add, if it's okay, that
Sure.
when the way I like seeing consistency is if you can take the smallest action that will move you towards your goal, even if it seems ridiculous, and add that in, that's still being consistent. So that is in line with what you were saying about it doesn't have to be linear and it doesn't have to be this massive like hurdle that you have to overcome. It really just has to be a small thing. And it can be literally as small as just adding one extra glass of water in before bedtime. It can be as small as, I don't know, adding like an extra vegetable into your dinner every day. It's not a hard step to take. And that's still being consistent. So I think that's really important as well.
Exactly. Like ever since I started reading this book by a good friend of mine, who focuses a lot on time management coaching, she emphasizes drinking a glass of water as soon as you wake up, and that's become my everyday thing. And I'm curious, what's your morning routine like?
Oh gosh, my morning routine at the moment is a little bit all over the place. I've got a 1 year old, so at the
Oh,
moment it's like get enough sleep.
I
But
don't blame
normally
you.
I try and wake up and I do like having a glass of water straight away. And then I actually really like taking my morning walk because I find that if I walk in the morning, my rest of my day is just, I have more self control, I have more consistency because I've already started off well. And I have a lot more energy. And I think that's something I realized when I started my own health journey about 8 years ago, where if I didn't have that morning walk, I just felt so sluggish. And it was completely opposite to what everyone had told me that, oh, exercising makes you tired. No, exercising doesn't make me tired. It makes me energized, so much more energized. So that's definitely part of my morning routine. And then I like having breakfast. I cannot live without 3 meals a day. I'm one of those people. So I definitely need breakfast. And then I go to work. That's pretty much my day, like my morning routine.
Yeah, that's actually a really solid routine you have there. Despite what you said that despite what you said that it's all over the place, I think you have it pretty down packed.
Yeah. It's definitely more chaotic with a 1 year old.
Yeah, nah, I hear you. And I have to ask, since you have a 1-year-old, and I'm actually getting my pre and postnatal certification right now, and has your what has your let's see, view on nutrition changed since you had your 1-year-old or no? Or like what would you teach your 1-year-old as he or she grows up about nutrition?
So I would really teach her that, first of all, that you can be healthy and really enjoy it. I think that's the big message that I learned, and I just need to pass that on because I think there's a lot of information out there that being unhealthy is really enjoyable. Whereas I find that the opposite is true because when I'm healthier, I end up having more energy. I have more peace of mind. I never feel guilty when I'm eating something healthy, even if I go overboard with it. And so I think that's really important for my daughter. And I don't eat sugar anymore on a like from processed sugar. So that to me, I want her to understand why it is that I do that. It's not just a fad. It's not just like I'm not just imposing restrictions on her. I really want her to understand what the ethos is behind eating. And then if she chooses to eat something, that's totally fine. But I think the main thing is making informed decision about food without being influenced by all the advertising and the social media and things that come around with the fads. And I think that's really important to understand for her, because she is going to grow up in a society where it is going to be very much about the influencers and, advertising and what is out there, and being actually like understanding what is in food and what can make a really good diet and what is healthy is really important for me to teach her. Yeah.
That is beautiful. I mean, I wish someone taught me that growing up. I mean, I grew up in the I was born in 1996 and I grew up in the 2000s, which were the arguably the ugliest times for diet culture. And it was just bad. And but that's another story all on its own. And so to wrap up this episode, I just want to ask, like, how can my listeners find you?
So they can find me through the Cracking the Consistency Facebook group. That's an easy one. It's there's no selling or anything on that. It's just a really nice accountability group. And I'm also on Instagram at Sunshine and Sandy Pants, where I post like a podcast, and I also post a couple of like inspirational quotes and inspirational ideas about healthy eating. And the last place is my website, where I have all my services. That's kind of where you can really see what working with me would be like.
Yep.
It's www.sandhyagokal.com.au. And I will say, like, when you pop on my website, it may seem a little bit gamey and a little bit weird, but that's me. Like that, I'm all about fun. And if someone is looking for being healthy and having a lot of fun about it, that's how you can find me, basically. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I like how you say that you like to have fun because like what's nutrition without a little fun or
Oh,
all the fun in
100%.
the world.
Exactly. I love that.
Alrighty, well, Sandhya, thank you so much for your time today. And this has been an episode of Brownies for Breakfast, and we will see you on Monday. Bye.